From the KBJR TV studios, you're watching the news at 10 on Northern News Now.
Good evening, I'm Laura Lee. Thanks so much for joining us tonight. Starting tomorrow, August 1st, recreational marijuana will be officially legal in the state of Minnesota. That means adults 21 or older can smoke and possess up to a certain amount depending on its form. Minnesotans will also be able to start growing up to 8 plants at home. Retailers can start selling marijuana seeds, but selling the drug itself won't be allowed until a new state department comes up with regulations. Over the past couple of months, law enforcement officers across the state have been preparing for this big day. Northern News Now's Natalie Hepner spoke to the Duluth Police Department to see how they feel ahead of the new law.
Starting August 1st, Minnesotans can possess, smoke, and grow marijuana.
And I think over the last several years, this has come through the legislation in various forms or fashions, and this year it passed.
It's legal. There you go.
Governor Tim Walz signed the 300-page legislation in May, but questions about how to regulate the substance, including while behind the wheel, remain.
A DWI where the sole chemical in someone's bloodstream is THC, that is going to be much more difficult to prove and to obtain a conviction on.
Currently, Duluth Police Chief Mike Sanoa says, unlike for alcohol, there is no roadside test to prove someone is under a THC influence while driving. Instead, officers have to use their best judgment.
Some of the same things that you'd look for: bloodshot eyes, the odor of marijuana, how their thought process is working, what their coordination looks like.
Sanoa says proving impairment and prosecuting offenders will be up to the court, where he says conversations are still ongoing about what that will look like.
You know, is there a level within people's bloodstream or chemical makeup that says that they are definitely impaired at the time? We're not there yet.
Does that make you nervous at all, or no?
Yeah, it does. I mean, I don't want to see people get harmed because we have this substance that's always been out there. I mean, it's been a part of other DWI investigations that we have done for years. But I do think that you will see more people, at least in the beginning, utilizing or using that substance.
Legalization blazing on as police prepare to enforce. In Duluth, Natalie Hepner, Northern News Now.
Natalie, thank you. Now, we did reach out to the St. Louis County Attorney, Kim Mackey, today, asking how her office plans to prosecute these cases. She says over time, she expects the State Court of Appeals and Supreme Court to issue a decision guiding how to handle these cases moving forward. For now, she says, her office will rely on their experience and expertise to hold people who choose to consume marijuana and drive accountable. And many have been wondering about how this new law will impact drug-sniffing police canines. Well, Chief Sanoa says these animals are more likely trained to detect fentanyl, meth, and other drugs, but he added it is also important that they still alert for marijuana to make sure that anything they do find is under the legal limit for possession. A vote